In this session, we're going to discuss cores and the different ways you can handle them. So anytime you receive a part in with a core, the system will automatically assume you're returning it. So let's take a look at this battery in work order 182. So I'm going to open this line up, look at where we received it in. So here we have a battery, MT65, came from O'Reilly Auto Parts on this invoice. We have a cost of $98, a core of 12, a total of 110. So by default, the system is designed to automatically return the core. That is a location setting default. So what's going to happen is this. You will be billed for it originally on your invoice. So let's go to O'Reilly and look at that invoice. So here we have our cost, our core, and then our total. Once the work order is posted out to an invoice, at that point in time, then it will put a copy of this core into the returns bin. Now at any time while it's still a work order, you can always change the status of this core. So if I open the line, I can open my drop down and I have two other choices here. Unknown simply means I'm going to charge this customer for it and I'm being billed for it. So it's typically just a wash. That's all it is. And it's going to tell them right on the work order they're being charged for it. The other option is not returned. This would typically be used where I want to charge a customer for this core, but I do have the possibility of getting a core back at a later date. Maybe they're picking up a battery today, they're going to bring me a core tomorrow or next week or something like that. So by doing this, I still charge them for the core. And then what will happen is when they bring that core back, I can issue a credit. So I can do a credit slip, return just the core by itself, and then it'll put it into the returns bin so I can send it back for credit. The vast majority of the time, though, you're going to typically leave it on returned. So where we run into a situation sometimes is when we have long-term projects. So let's say I'm going to have this vehicle in my shop for quite a long time, and I want to return the core and go ahead and track it, get my core credit, but I'm not going to be able to post this work order out for maybe a week or two or several months. So how would I handle that? There's two different ways to handle this, and we're going to discuss both ways. So number one, again, I'm going to receive it in just like I normally do. I'm going to leave it on returned, and then eventually when I post this out, it'll put a copy of this battery in the returns bin. Okay. So if I want to return this core immediately, one way you can do this. Let's do a save here. We go over to our purchases. We go down to items to be returned, and we can add it as a found item. So I go into O'Reilly, put the part number. This might be a battery core. I can tell the system, is it a part or a core? Quantity, value, and where do I want to adjust it to? Now, if you're doing this occasionally, it's no issue. You can just put it in return item lost and found. But if this is something you're doing on a regular basis, you can even go as far as into the general ledger and create an account just for this. So in my system, what I did was I created one called return item cores. This gives me a single journal to track everything in. I hit OK. Now, here's my core. I can go ahead and return it. So when I go to return it, I create my credit slip, put my return slip number, send it back. Now I have the capability of returning the part, moving it to a slip, getting the credit, and then I can process the credit. So eventually what is going to happen is this. My work order will become an invoice. So I'm going to go post this out as an invoice. As soon as I post this out to an invoice, what the system is going to do is enter that core in here. See, now it's in the returns bin. So what I have to do is this: highlight it and delete it as a lost item. And since I have a specific account for that, it makes it really easy. So what is going to happen in that account is it just becomes a wash. Let's take a look at that account real quick, see what happens. So we'll go to my general ledger, look up returns here. There's my expense account. So you can see here's where I brought it in, here's where I took it out. It's a wash. By having one single journal where I put all of these, I have one place to track it all. Make sure I'm getting all my returns proper. Now that's one way to do this. It is a few extra steps, and you can do it this way, no problem. Okay. A second way to do this. Let's take this one here. Here I have a work order that I'm not going to post out for quite a while. I have a Reman starter on here. Let's go open this up and look. So this is from O'Reilly on that invoice. There's my cost, there's my core, there's my total. So again, once I received this in, if I go look at my supplier invoice, you'll see there's the cost of the starter, the core value. Now in this situation, I just want to return the core real quick. Don't even want to deal with anything else. I don't want to have to go process, a delete lost item or an add found item. Don't want to do any of that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open the line, open up where I received it, and I'm going to get rid of this core value. Now, let's go look at what happened on the supplier invoice. So we'll save that. I'm going to hit search again to get it to refresh. See, no core. So I still have a core that needs to go back. What I'm going to do is in this work order, I'm going to add another part line. I'm going to receive it in. And this one's going to be my starter core. Put a cost of $33. It's my core value, my supplier, and I'm going to add that to the same supplier invoice. Don't care about marking it up, isn't going to matter. So what I've done basically is just create a second line item. So if I save this and go back and look at my supplier invoice, you're going to see a second line item for the core. Now, I want to send it back. Highlight the item, right click, delete, move to returns. Hit OK. So now I don't have to worry about processing. I don't even have to remember. I save it. I'm done with this for now. I'm not going to post this out for quite some time. But when I go back to my returns and I go open up the supplier invoice here I've removed it from the work order, and it's going to be sitting in my returns bin waiting to go back. And there's my core. So a couple of ways you can handle that. It's just whatever you want. And those are just some ideas on how to handle the core returns, especially for long-term projects. And that is cores.